Hello and welcome to Mangum News. I'm your host, Elijah Mangum. This week we'll be discussing a breakdown of the qualifying candidates for the 2023 Mississippi statewide elections, Governor Tate Reeves' State of the State address, controversy over Mississippi House Bill 1020, a massive ice storm blasting the South, Punxsutawney Phil seeing his shadow, Congresswoman Illhan Omarr ousted from the House Foreign Affairs Committee, a suspected Chinese spy balloon discovered, my weekly weather report, and my exclusive interview with WLBT Meteorologist Peyton Garrison. Without further ado, let's begin. Tuesday was the deadline to qualify for the 2023 Mississippi statewide elections. All 8 statewide elected offices are up for re-election. Only the governor, lieutenant governor, ag commissioner, and insurance commissioner will have members of both parties challenging them. Attorney General Lynn Fitch doesn't have a primary, but does have a Democratic challenger. The treasurer and auditor has neither a primary or Democratic challenger. This comes as State Senator Chris McDaniel was the last major candidate to throw their hat into the ring. McDaniel is challenging incumbent Delbert Hosemann for lieutenant governor.
We are here because of our great conservative legacy. From Kurt Fordyce all the way to Tate Reeves, and this party must learn to work together again if we are to accomplish bold and great things for this state.
The state of our state is stronger than ever.
Governor Tate Reeves delivered his State of the State address on Monday, where he spent his time bragging on the state and calling the legislature to action. He renewed his commitment to fight for the full elimination of the state income tax before discussing cultural issues such as calling for a parental bill of rights to be passed this session, advocating against schools requiring pronouns that
fail to correspond with reality.
Supported the ban on transgender surgeries on minors and establishing a new pro-life agenda in the wake of the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade this past summer. He also addressed the expansion of funding for Capitol Police and the solutions to fixing Mississippi's struggling healthcare system.
Don't simply cave under the pressure of Democrats and their allies in the media who are pushing for the expansion of Obamacare, welfare, and socialized medicine.
Public Service Commissioner for the Northern District and Governor Tate Reeves' biggest Democratic challenger in the upcoming election provided the Democratic response. He refuted claims of economic success under the Reeves administration and provided his own solution to improve the healthcare system in the state. He delivered the response inside of a shut-down hospital in Newton County.
Mississippi is full of good people, but we're led by horrible politicians, and it's time for that to change. The reality is that under Tate Reeves' leadership, we're moving in the wrong direction. Nothing makes that clearer than where I'm standing tonight. I'm at what once was the Pioneer Community Hospital in Newton. It used to employ over 200 people. Now it's shut down for good. No doctors roaming these halls, no nurses tending to patients, no ambulances outside, no cars in the parking lot. Right now, there are 38 more rural hospitals just like the one I'm standing in, and they're on the brink of shutting their doors. If hospitals continue to close, the impact will be catastrophic. Jobs lost and health care for thousands gutted.
There is no bill more controversial from this legislative session than House Bill 1020. WLBT's Brendan Hall explains.
Maggie, on the very same steps that Governor Tate Reeves touted Mississippi's successes during yesterday's State of the State address, roughly 200 people came out this morning to speak in opposition to what they feel would be one of Mississippi's greatest failures, and that's House Bill 1020, a bill that would more than triple Capitol Police's current jurisdiction and create a court system where judges are appointed, not elected. State leaders.
This is my 41st year on these steps. And not much has changed from the first year to now.
County leaders.
Don't expect others to do for you what you can do for yourself. And this is a clear example that we don't need to take the same position that they are trying to throw on us.
City leaders.
If you're going to enjoy this black wealth, then you need to support this black city.
And church leaders.
Here we are in 2023 fighting battles of 1823. Black people, the only people I know that have to re-win their freedom every day.
All with the same message for similar reasons. Kill House Bill 1020.
If you want to know what's going on here, look, all you have to do is look at the map that Paloma held up. The CCID district captures every last white soul in the city of Jackson. It's a sea of black folks outside the CCID. Just look at the map. We know what this is about. It's about what it's always been about. It's about race.
Some have welcomed the idea of increased police presence in the capital city.
The more law enforcement, the better for the city of Jackson.
But those at Tuesday's protest say the argument that House Bill 1020 will reduce crime is simply a distraction from what the bill would really do.
Nobody else in this state is being asked to sacrifice their votes and their dollars to prop up a government within a government. I call this CCID district New Jack City.
Supporters say the expansion would allow Jackson Police to focus on high crime areas outside the district and allow Capitol Police to focus on smaller crimes within the district. I tried reaching out to Representative Trey Lamar of Senatobia, who authored this bill, for more on how he feels about it. Unfortunately, I didn't hear back from his office until an hour ago and couldn't get comment for tonight's story.
Millions across the American South have been blasted with a massive ice storm. This storm has caused car accidents, traffic backups, power outages, and at least 9 dead. Across the country, temperatures have hit a record lows, with an area in Utah hitting as low as negative 60 degrees. Punxsutawney Phil made his annual Groundhog Day prediction in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, Thursday morning. He saw his shadow, which means that he is predicting 6 more weeks of winter. One small town in Illinois, which doubled for Punxsutawney in the film, celebrates. NBC's Maggie Vespa has the story.
Then put your little hand in mine. This morning, after 3 decades watching a cynical weatherman's nightmare day on repeat.
That's right, woodchuck chuckers. It's Groundhog Day!
Don't mess with me, pork chop. What day is this? It's February 2nd. Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day's Bill Murray-infused deja vu still reigns supreme.
Do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?
I don't think so, but I could check with the kitchen.
Perhaps nowhere more than in Woodstock, Illinois.
People think of Punxsutawney, but when they think of Groundhog Day, you guys want them to think of Woodstock.
We do.
The city of 25,000 played host to the 1993 cult classic, cast as the real holiday's headquarters, Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Reluctant forecaster Phil Connors, played by Murray, covers the main event.
This is one time where television really fails to capture the true excitement of a large squirrel predicting the weather.
30 years later, Woodstock honors its role with groundhog-themed gusto.
We had no idea what the movie was even about. And certainly didn't think that 30 years later people would still be talking about it.
We met Rick Belair's, chairman of Woodstock's annual Groundhog Days Festival, in the town's Harold Ramis Theater, named after the famed director who found the small town for the offbeat comedy about a day Phil Connors is forced to live over and over.
To Gobbler's Knob. It's Groundhog Day.
It's still just once a year, isn't it?
People would find Bill Murray in one of the local drinking establishments in the evening.
Belair's cast as an extra. Now he helps fans revel in the movie's magic.
So this is the puddle, probably the most famous spot in Woodstock.
Watch out for that first step. It's a doozy.
Here, the diner where Murray tells Andy McDowell's Rita Hansen,
I'm a god. I'm not the god.
McDowell recently reflecting on the film's 30-year legacy.
For me, Groundhog Day was a perfect movie. It makes you realize how gorgeous life is and how to be a good person.
Now, Woodstock's festival serves as a pilgrimage for film lovers and lovers of all kinds.
You got married at the festival.
Yeah. We decided to elope and get married here on the bandstand.
This year, as tourists trickle in, the film's message worth repeating.
It's a story that we all feel in our hearts. It's a story of disappointments. It's a story of successes. It's sort of what we do. We try to learn new lessons every day.
Congresswoman Illhan Omarr has been barred from the House Foreign Affairs Committee after multiple anti-Semitic comments towards U.S. ally Israel.
When it comes to foreign affairs, especially the responsibility of that position around the world with the comments that you make.
Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez defending her and attacking Republicans on the decision.
There is nothing consistent with the Republican Party's continued attack except for the racism and incitement of violence against women of color in this body.
A suspected Chinese spy balloon was spotted flying over sites of U.S. military assets. President Joe Biden initially deciding not to shoot it down, after being warned by military leaders that debris could hit people on the ground. Hovering at 60,000 feet, the balloon is roughly the size of 2 school buses. China confirms that it was theirs, but claims that the balloon is for meteorological research purposes. On Saturday, the Pentagon confirmed that there was a second balloon flying over Latin America. Hours later, the balloon over the U.S. was shot down off the coast of South Carolina.
On Wednesday, when I was briefed on the balloon, I ordered the Pentagon to shoot it down on Wednesday as soon as possible. They decided, without doing damage to anyone on the ground, they decided that the best time to do that was as it got over water outside within the 12-mile limit.
Skies will be partly cloudy most of the week, with rain chances ranging from 20% to 50% Tuesday through Saturday. Temperatures will be as low as 36 on Saturday and as high as 72 on Tuesday. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about your motivations and your journey in meteorology so far?
So I am from the Birmingham, Alabama area, and similar to Mississippi, we are used to our severe weather as well. And there were 2 significant events, severe weather events in my life that kind of jump-started my passion for weather quite a bit. The tornado outbreak back on April 27, 2011 interested me quite a bit. And then almost a year later, in January of 2012, my house actually got hit by a tornado. So that was obviously I was in 8th grade at the time. So that was a very life-changing type of situation. And I think that just, how everything went down that night, because it was a middle of the night situation, that I wanted to step up into a role similar to try to help save people's lives because, and try to make them aware, because at the time, it wasn't something that as young as I was aware of, but now I want to be that position for someone else to make them aware. And I don't know, I mean, just those events really jump started my passion. And from there, I just always knew I wanted to be a meteorologist throughout high school. I went to Mississippi State for broadcast meteorology. And, here I am.
Yep, and we've enjoyed you, and I've loved seeing. I'll tell you this: I've been watching. Well, I've been watching all my life, off and on, but especially for me, when you came around the time that I really started getting interested in this stuff in 2020, and it's been such an honor to see you grow and everything else. You have really, you have definitely grown through this, and I've seen it, and you're becoming a great meteorologist.
Well, I appreciate your kind words. I mean, I think back to when I started here. I joined WLBT June 1st of 2020. So right when the pandemic, was really getting going, and I just think back to where I was then, and I'm like, oh my gosh, sometimes I'm like, how did I get this job? But I mean, yeah, I've grown so much just within the past like 2.5, almost 3 years now since I've been here.
What does the day in the life of Peyton Garrison look like? What is your kind of day-to-day activities with WLBT, and, your sort of work schedule and stuff like that?
Yeah, so actually when I first came to WLBT, I started off on the weekends and then a couple of days during the weekday, but I was on the split shift schedule. So I covered every single newscast Saturday and Sunday. So my day in life looks completely different from there to where I am now, which I am basically Monday through Friday, dayside, which is awesome. You don't always hear of like dayside jobs in this business, because it's almost like I work as a normal person, because that's not always the case in most scenarios. So I come into work around 10 o'clock in the morning. So, I'm not up here too early, but it's, a decent time to do what I need to do at home. I have 2 dogs, so I take care of them. And then I come in here around 10 o'clock. And then I right away start to look at the forecast. And then I get my graphics together and send in like my closed captioning to our news producer so they can put that in the newscast, because I will typically work the noon show, so 12 o'clock and the 12:30. So I'm getting everything prepared to do for the noon shows while before then. And then we have 11 o'clock newscast as well, which typically Patrick Ellis covers, but every once in a while, if he has a school talk or if he just needs a break, then I will cover the 11 o'clock for him. But typically I just do the 12:30. And once we get past those newscasts, I kind of have like my lunch break from 1 to 2. So I will eat lunch. And then at 2 o'clock every single weekday, we have an editorial meeting. So I will go in there and we'll start off with weather. I just give a briefing on the weather. Hopefully it's quiet. But we tell them, if there's anything like concerning ahead, if that's severe weather, such and such. And then basically just like the breakdown of how much time we need for newscasts. That's what I pretty much cover in that editorial meeting. Then I'll come back in here into the studio, which I am currently sitting at right now. I did the 2 o'clock meeting about 40 minutes ago. And between now and 4 o'clock, I'm just getting my life prepared for the 4 o'clock shows, which I do 4, 4:30, and then 5:30 over on Fox 40. So right now is when it's pretty quiet, which I kind of like sometimes, because other times it's very hectic. But I'll create graphics, work on new graphics, maybe changing up the forecast from what Patrick had earlier this morning. If things are changing with the models, then I'll take care of that as well. And then once it's 4 o'clock, then the ball starts rolling, and then we start to get into back-to-back newscasts. And then my day typically ends around 6 after the 5:30 over on Fox 40. I don't always get to leave here at 6. If we have active weather on the radar, I will stick around with Dave if that needs to happen. But on days like today where it is sunny, then I will leave here at 6 o'clock. So yeah, a very normal like schedule. If you compare that to a normal, corporate job for any other person not in TV. So I'm very fortunate that this is my schedule right now at the time.
Can you tell us a little bit about the craziest weather stories you've ever covered?
There's obviously been a lot of memorable moments. I would probably say the first one that comes to my mind is probably the ice storm that you probably remember back in February of 2021, almost 2 years now. So that was very crazy. That was very impactful to the whole city of Jackson between, just ice storm as a whole and then, the water system and everything. But I just remember it was just so, crazy being here at work. Should I spend the night here at work? Fortunately, I did make it home and back each time I had to come. But yeah, that was just a lot. And hopefully, we don't have another ice storm, in quite some time. Fortunately, dodged a bullet here in central Mississippi this past week because up in the northern part of the state, they did see a lot of ice. So we just got some rain.
That's all we have for this week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all on Sunday.